This is the Nerd Coalition. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. And now, feel the Nerdgasm.
I stood right here in this movie theater. Now, they don't have the Fantastic Four thing up, but I stood right here 10 years ago and cursed out everything I had in me about what happened with Fan 4 Stick. I sat right out here with this guy, that's his name, back during the old Coalition days, and cursed everything out.
With who?
Okay, and so now I'm happy to say 10 years later that this thing is really good. You need to go out there and see it.
All right, so I am back to give you guys my review. So I went out on premiere day, and I had to because it's one of my favorite superhero groups of all time. I had to check out what the new movie was offering. I had to check out the movie. What is that? The Fantastic Four: First Steps. In this movie, the Fantastic Four are facing a cosmic threat known as Galactus. But it's already been said that Galactus wants something very special from the Fantastic Four in order to save their planet. And the Fantastic Four bond together to try to stop this evil threat. Now, with that being said, I know I'm a huge fan of Fantastic Four. I'm sometimes a lot of bias to Fantastic Four because we haven't had a truly good Fantastic Four movie. I'm not talking about that one. That was great. I'm talking about legit IP Fantastic Four movie. You had one in '94, which was really a movie, not really a movie. Then, of course, you had the Tim Story version of the Fantastic Four, which I have still been mad at Tim Story for how he portrayed Galactus. Then, of course, 10 years ago, in 2015, we got Fan 4 Stick. And like I said before at the beginning, I was out there I went to the same movie that I went to 10 years ago to see Fan 4 Stick. And I remember me just spazzing out at that point. But you know what? Now we're about to check out what the new Fantastic Four is. So I'm going to give you guys what I liked about it. Some things I probably didn't like about it, but I'm really going to elaborate of all that kind of stuff when I get to the spoilers, okay? And the spoilers are going to be later part of the podcast, okay? But right now, we're going to talk about the things I liked about it. And overall, the number one thing that took it for me that I loved about this movie off the bat, Galactus. I know it's weird to start with, the villain or the cosmic threat first, but I have to because I have been waiting for a good portrayal of Galactus for the longest time. And what I got in 2007, I was hoping to never get that again. But this Galactus is, oh my God. First of all, he's massive, as he should be. He's intimidating, as he should be. He is just so powerful and at times frightening, as he should be. Those are all things, and the mix of the CGI and the practical effects, everything looks great. It not good. It looks great on Galactus. This is nothing new. It's not a spoiler. All the stuff has been in the trailer. You knew Galactus was going to be coming there, and I'm saying this has just been all the times he was on. That's when the movie to me really picks up. And I was like, I have to talk. That's been my favorite thing about the movie. That, and of course, I enjoyed the Silver Surfer. I really did, because once again, last time I see Silver Surfer was the Rise of Silver Surfer in 2007, so we got a new version of the Silver Surfer in this one, and I have to say, she is badass. She's badass in this one as well. Also, there is similarities, in my personal opinion, to the 2007 one, in this 2025 one, but they also tease, something between her and Johnny a little bit, which I will probably slightly get into, and I'll talk more about that into my spoilers, which I was like, I don't know if I didn't like it or they should elaborate on it more. But overall, when it came to the action scenes of the Silver Surfer, when it came to her, the sequence when they try to go bargain with Galactus, when they go visit Galactus and try to escape from Galactus, that's flawless. I enjoyed everything about that. It was tension in that scene. It was like, are they really gonna get out of this in this scene? It was just, it was, man, that is probably my favorite sequence of scenes in the movie. When they went to go bargain with Galactus, and then them escaping from Galactus. That, to me, that's probably the best one of the best sequences they have in the movie. Now, of course, we can't go and have a Fantastic Four movie and not talk about the Fantastic Four, right? Okay, so overall, let me go over the individually first. So, Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. So, here's the thing. I like Pedro Pascal. Pedro Pascal Plays great. I love him in The Mandalorian. I even loved him in Wonder Woman 84. He did his best, but the movie sucked. But I still liked him in there, and I liked him in The Mandalorian. Okay, so I was like, I want to see what this man could bring as Reed Richards, right? And I thought for the material given, he did pretty good. But out of all the Reeds that I've seen live action, also the Reeds I've read about in the comic book, this is going to sound weird, but Pedro Pascal's Reed Richards is just a little bit too nice. He's a little bit too, takes too much accountability. Loves Susan Storm too much to be like Reed Richards. Now, once again, that's going to sound crazy. That's going to sound wrong a little bit. You might be like, what the hell are you talking about? But his version of Reed Richards, I felt the caring he had for Sue Storm. That's his wife, and they might have a baby. I felt the caring he had for the team. I've also felt the caring that he had for the people of this earth, and him just knowing that I got something wrong and I got to try to figure this thing out. That's all great, but that ain't Reed. Reed Richards, at the bottom line, is an asshole. Okay, Reed Richards, the first thing Reed cares about before even his wife is science. Science always comes first. And sometimes Reed could be a prick in a lot of things. And I just felt as though that this version of Reed was just a little bit too nice. You know what I'm saying? But, there's going to be difference in opinions about that. Then we got Johnny Storm. Now, I like Johnny Storm in this movie. Once again, I know I have been... There's different... depending on what you read. And, of course, if you see the old school Chris Evans version of the Tim Story movies, he was way more of a ladies' man. That version of Johnny Storm was way more of a ladies' man than Joseph Quinn was. But also, like I said, they had a way of illustrating powers in this one. And Johnny Storm has a scene in here that was like, honestly, I didn't know the Human Torch can do that, and I thought that was really, really dope. When you see, what I'm talking about. I was like, I didn't know he can do that. He could be truly powerful also. But then he has little tease or something of almost like a relationship with the Silver Surfer, and I was like, I don't know. It's like they didn't do enough with that, in my personal opinion. But I'm sticking to this to mix the characters first, and but Johnny, I was cool with Johnny. Susan Storm, played by Vanessa Kirby. I felt as though this has been one of the best versions of Sue Storm in here because, first of all, it shows that Susan Storm is a badass. She's just not the invisible girl. That has been the one problem I've had with any movie adaptation of the Fantastic Four. And it's just they got all these powers and she can just turn invisible. Some people do not understand how powerful Sue Storm really is. Sue Storm can go create a force field around your head and suffocate you, or even around your brain and kill you. Sue Storm is very powerful, and the way they have shown that has not been that. But in this movie, I felt as though that she gets her just due of what she owed, because they really show her yo, when the chips are down, don't fuck with her. And I like that about her. However, I know I talked about I was trying to do good and bad. I just can't. The one thing I was disappointed in was Ben Grimm. I felt as though that they took an approach here that felt like, now, correct me if I'm wrong, depending on you're watching. If y'all seen the movie, it felt like Cousin Richie got hit and became Ben Grimm, opposed to Ben Grimm. You feel what I'm saying? To me, it felt like they was like, well, since Ebon Moss-Baccarat plays Cousin Richie on The Bear, we can just make him Cousin Richie as a thing, but just kind of depressed in a way. And to me, I felt as though out of the team, Ben Grimm was the most underdeveloped out of everybody. I wanted more from him. Ben has, a good story and a story of pain because he got the worst from the storm, and he looks like that is. And this one, I just felt like he was just there. Uncle mode, slightly sad and depressed, and he was just there, and I was like, I want the thing to be the thing a little bit, I felt as though he was the most underutilized for everything, and I do think, with that being said, that Franklin Richards, which is their baby, has taken the forefront where a lot of the characters took a backseat to that, because it's all about the baby, right? It's all about the baby, which I think it can help and hurt the film at the same time, to be honest with you. Visually, Earth 828 is really good looking. It's that 60s futuristic type thing. Like if you go back to the 1960s and they were thinking about sci-fi, that's the kind of look that it has. To the point where I even said when I came at the movie theater, for my out the theater reaction, that this feels like they would make a theme park or a section of Disney World or whatever they can to dedicate to Earth 828. And that's the way I've been feeling about it. I thought it was very unique. I like the visual styles of it. I like the colors of it. I like the panel. I just like that 60s feel, that 60s futuristic feel to it. To the point where when you go into this movie, we don't have to worry about the real New York. You don't have to worry about where any other adventures have been at, because there's none of that here. It's just the Fantastic Four. So, which also amplifies the threat to the point where, is this Earth going to make it? Which brings tension to the movie, which I liked about it. But the one thing that was struggling for me, though, especially in the first act, was it felt rushed a little bit. And it felt rushed, but slow at some points, and to the point where I was just like, it feels like I'm watching a highlight reel, but we're not really getting any type of story development in a way. And in my personal opinion, the lack of use of powers bothers me in a Fantastic Four movie. Like, yes, you get to see the powers, but I felt as though we really, like, other than what Johnny does and then what Sue does later, I felt as though when Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, we didn't get much Reed. Like, we when it comes to the stretching stuff, other than him doing the usual that he does, like get stretched to, pull down a lever, or stretched as he's writing equations on the chalkboard. But to actually show what Reed can do as like Mr. Elastic in a way, no, it wasn't none of that. Which disappointed me. Same goes for the Thing. Ben Grimm's like, yes, he's strong, but what are some of the things like the Thing can actually do? And I was like, the lack of powers or what they can do was, especially in the beginning, I was like, we need a little bit more here. And it had like a little, like I said, it had a little montage where it had some good callbacks to the comic books. If you know, right? But I do feel as though that it was a lack of that. There was things that was missing in that. Now, with all that being said, I'm not saying I hate the movie. It's just the start of Phase 6. I thought it was a good movie. I think it's the best Fantastic Four movie to date. And no, I'm not including that one. And once again, I know the bar was in hell for Fantastic Four, but I still think it's the best Fantastic Four movie they did. I know what the criticisms I had. I don't want to make it seem like I'm hating on the movie. I'm really not hating on the movie. But there's some things that I was expecting and wanted to see more of that I could definitely dig into when it comes to my spoilers. But overall, when it comes to my rating of what I get Fantastic Four, I will buy it on physical release. Absolutely. It wasn't quite a Nerdgasm. It wasn't like, the best Marvel movie, but I'm not going to sit there and say it's going in a step in the right direction. I'm just like, listen, how many times are you going to take a step before we actually finally get there? I thought the Thunderbolts was really good this year. The Thunderbolts was one of my shockers, but then this came out, and I was like, this is what I like about Marvel also. And especially when Marvel has their, they have the Fantastic Four. The other studio has them. They had the Fantastic Four. They can take care of it. There were just some things that I wanted to see more of. And like I said, it's under 2 hours. I want to see a little bit more. I want to see more. You could really have dug into this deep and get some good character-driven, good power uses, even some more action, because there is a lack of action. Like, stuff don't really get popping until Galactus show up. You know what I'm saying? Which, understandable. But however, that is my review. Post any comments down below on the YouTube section on how you guys felt about Fantastic Four. This is a non-spoiler review, so please don't put no spoilers in there. But if you guys want to hear my spoilers, make sure you guys stay tuned for the other part of the podcast, if you guys are listening on the podcast version for that. But once again, for the YouTube version, this is NC and the Place to Be. Joe Mr. A&D, and the Nerd Coalition is out.